Dan Coughlin, John Beck, and Wayne Sawchuk. Okay. So we can talk to whoever wants to talk or participate, I guess, at this point.
So 781-206-6031, could you please tell us why you're listening in?
Can you unmute him? Okay, there they are.
Hey, Lisa, I'm driving from Boston. It's me, Brian.
Oh, hi, Brian. I didn't recognize.
How's everyone doing?
Great, thanks.
Everyone's good.
And then we have Paul Berg is an attendee. He is here for to talk about a sewer abatement. And we have Ron, who is the legal counsel for Stop and Shop.
The Stop and Shop. The plaza itself or the supermarket?
I believe the supermarket.
Huh, interesting. All right. Should we talk to our friends at Woodard and Curran first, since they're on the call?
Could we get the next meeting on the agenda first?
Oh, sure.
September 15th?
Or the 8th?
Close to
We
it.
need to have our next meeting whenever we meet with the select board so that we have a pre-notice.
Yeah. When are we meeting with the select board? Do we have a firm date on that?
Yeah, it was the 14th. It's the first date, and then we have a second date. I believe it's the 18th.
Okay.
In between, there's another. The 15th is reserved in case we need to go from the 14th.
Why don't we do the 8th of September then? That way there we can have a meeting to go over our stuff before we talk to them.
Okay, 10 a.m.
Yep, that's fine. Right now it's good for me.
Okay.
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 Rob and Scott, do you guys want to talk? Are you talking SCADA? Is that what you're on for?
Sorry about that, was on mute, Bill. Yeah,
Sorry.
I want to give you an update of some of the stuff that's going on.
Yep.
So the membranes are producing good water. Two months, they did a lot of optimization work. Finally got the air balanced, pursuant to getting that going. Nitrogen is back in line. Took us a while to get that on track. But we're using the large blowers, supplemental blowers, purchased a spectrophotometer, incorporated a process control testing plan. And I think it's 4 straight weeks now in a row where it came under 10 total nitrogen. It's running around 6 or 7. So that's a huge improvement. The SCADA itself is on track. I forwarded a summary to Lisa that I got from Doug from our SBU. They've purchased a lot of stuff. They got a schedule planned, and I think it's, let's say September 15th, I think, Bill.
Okay.
They're looking to get on site and start putting some of it in. And then lastly, I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of the maintenance budget, which I shared in a spreadsheet. That's kind of the 3 big items that I had that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. And I guess just curious if you have any questions for me and how you'd like us to deal with the maintenance account.
So basically, like in a nutshell, we're going to be running into a deficit. Is that I don't have your sheet in front of me, but is that where we're going?
Yeah, so we have an $80,000 threshold account, which we do a true up at the end. So if it goes over, you reimburse us. If we don't spend it, we reimburse you. In the non-routine maintenance, on the low pressure system and out in the collection system, Rosanna Davis has done, can't see it, done over $50,000 worth of work in that budget. So we're not, I mean, we're basically at the 80,000. Probably surpassed it a little bit, and I'm only concerned because we're late August and there's still 4 months. There is some known needs. There's no glaring expensive needs, but it will run over. So
I have a couple of questions.
sure.
For and received the invoice details from Rosano Davis that accounted for the bulk, if not all, of the money that they spent out of that account. And my question is, do we still have a contract with Rosano Davis to do emergency responses for breaks in our system?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's just been extended, sort of, because
Well, the thing that was, maybe I shouldn't be shocked, but that kind of shocked me was the line item rates that we were charged, like $1,000 to remove a piece of steel over a hole in the ground. And it goes on and on and on with really high dollar amounts that, I just didn't recall it was that expensive in the contract that we had before. But I don't have a copy of that. And I just wondered, it just seemed like a huge amount of money for a relatively short period of time.
I don't think we've had a contract with them for some time.
I'm sorry,
for
man,
that.
it's kind of breaking up.
Yeah, sorry. I don't, if you can hear me any better. I don't think we had a contract with them for some time on the emergency repairs. It was just for a short period of time. I think basically your emergency repairs are handled through your operators within current. They can hire Rosano Davis, or they can hire someone else, basically, or do it themselves, type of thing. So that's really a mechanism now for getting a contractor and emergency response through your operator.
Well, in this kind of a situation, wouldn't it be, I mean, it's probably, the ship has sailed to a certain extent, so we can't bring it back. But to me, it would seem prudent for us to go out and maybe solicit a bid, to various vendors to do this. So just to your point, John, we know if they're gonna take a piece of steel covering a hole, what's it gonna cost? That kind of thing. I mean, we should have some sort of at least contractual setup that talks about hourly rates and materials and things of that nature, so we don't get this stuff.
Well, perhaps that's some research Lisa could do just to find out, A, if we do have that existing contract, and B, does it cover those kinds of details for the rates they charge for dump trucks, vacuum trucks, lifting steel in and out, et cetera, et cetera. So just so that we've got a clear, clean picture of what we're dealing with. And I think Bill's suggestion is probably appropriate, that we maybe go out for bid again if this one is an older contract. More to the point, I'm sorry, Wayne, more to the point of the line item and the fact that we've essentially spent a year's allocation in 6 months. Do any of you recall the rules that I thought we were operating under historically, that says town meeting approves our budget bottom line, but that we have the flexibility, given that we have the fiscal responsibility, to take care of our budget, which to me historically has been that if we're a little short in one account and a little long in the other, we're not concerned about it. We're looking at our bottom line to make sure that we stay within those constraints that town meeting passed. Is that your guys' understanding of how we can operate?
It's mine, yes.
I think that has to be the way we operate, because in an organization like this, and you have the fact that you have emergencies that require you to act, and you don't really know what's going to happen as a result of the emergency. Meaning that one event on Jerusalem Road there where they weren't sure of the pipe size and it was a repair and stuff. I bet that cost $10,000 or $15,000. And yet, how can you predict that? I do have a comment that I think that we should also check with Michelle and see whether or not the town's contract that they have in place with a couple of contractors to do certain things would be able to be used for ours as well, in terms of if we get into a situation, do we have a contract with them? And then secondly, I think Scott or someone should look in their organization and say, what do they do in other towns? What are they doing in Hull, for instance, if they have an emergency? Do they have a backhoe and trucks and stuff that go out, or do they have a contractor to do that in other towns that they might have?
The other thing,
I think our one experience with calling a larger firm there, you know, and when they gave us a bill for $35,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 for one manhole, that really, you know, opened everything up as to, wait a minute, we have to be protected a little bit more on the pricing.
Agreed.
the other thing to keep
Now,
in
Brian,
mind is,
I think maybe on the phone here.
Sorry.
Brian?
Hi, Wayne, this is Brian. So to your question, Michelle's checking into whether we're under contract with Rosano Davis. And I can tell you currently that we are under contract for labor and equipment on anything town related with IREA Brothers with a price sheet. I'll send that to Lisa and you guys can chew that over. But we're checking into the Rosano Davis thing.
So could we use the IREA Brothers if we needed to next week, and then our sewer bill pays the bill from them? Is that doable legally today?
Oh, yeah, they're under contract. You guys would just pay the bill, but their rates are set, you know, based on piece of equipment. So it's just a labor rate and a piece of equipment rate.
So
Based on what you use.
perhaps Lisa or Michelle could compare them with what we're paying now with Rosano Davis.
one other thing to take a look at too is, I mean, if the repairs are done through Woodin and Curran, it's basically operations and it's not prevailing wages. If you go out to bid or potentially with IREA Brothers, you're basically paying prevailing wages, I would suspect. So it might even be higher.
Except that when you go with the equipment, first of all, they're a family-owned business, so if there's an operator that's running the machine, they don't have to pay that particular person prevailing wage. But
Yep.
if they give us a price for a mini excavator at $100 an hour, we don't break down what did the operator get and that type of thing, if in fact they're excluded from it, right? It's
They
going to
still
be
have to, they would
like
still,
good price.
yeah, I mean, if it's a public bid process, they would still have to document that they are paying prevailing wages.
Yeah, or are exempt for that operator.
Right.
So, but I think it's worth looking at a second alternative to this, because sometimes Rosano Davis isn't able to do something at the last minute, and IREA may, and in the other case, IREA may not be able to do something, and we have to use someone else.
Correct. To Wayne's point, and this is Scott, I just wanted to add my 2 cents into it. We've never really had a contract per se with Rosano Davis. What we do have with Rosano Davis is their response time. The fact that they're generally right up the street. Just a few things to keep in mind is time of day when something happens. Because generally, from my perspective, all of their hourly rates are pretty much right on. They've been the same. The truck rates are generally the same, but when we get into off hours, when we get into different, going back to Jerusalem Road 2-3 times, where they were kind of at our beck and call, where we were just calling them and they were coming right out. So my only fear, and I'm not trying to say we shouldn't look at other people, because obviously we do need other contractors, but with Rosano Davis, we have the knowledge of the town and the sewer system itself, and the quick response time is my two really important things. We've never really used anybody else other than we've used Aqualine that one time out on Jerusalem Road, but that was basically because Rosano Davis couldn't respond. And that's probably been the only time they have not been able to respond. My only concern with going out with other people is just the response time. It's just something that if we're going to get into a contract with another contractor, that might be something that we want to make sure that they understand that, there are some time restraints there. We can't wait all day for Aqualine to come down or IRE to finish a project in wherever they are. Because generally, Rosano Davis, when I call them within the hour, they're out there and they're digging up the road. Now, I do understand that you need to look at pricing and make sure that's all in line. I just want to throw in my 2 cents on Rosano Davis.
Good.
Rob and Scott, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, just to partner off what Scott said, the response time is extremely quick. You call them, they're there, they drop everything. They treat the town very well with the response time and stuff. And I agree, you need to look at other places. And I think John asked what we do in other towns, or Wayne asked. We establish ICAs. We have multiple parties that can do work, depending on what town and who we work with. So some are obviously more expensive, but more convenient. Some are quicker, some are slower. There's a bunch of them. There is a bunch available, but you are, as a town, they're doing you a great service very quickly. And we had no concerns. The only concern is I didn't want you guys being surprised, not knowing, how much we spent.
Right.
Important.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you moving us to the front of the meeting. That's greatly appreciated, actually. And if anyone has questions for us, we'll certainly answer any of them right now.
I have one question probably for us that reflects on you, and that is, do we have money left over from the project that we did? We had some money for the SCADA, or are some of what you're talking about with that we need not covered by the money that was available?
The SCADA was allocated through the capital, and that will be spent. There was a whole budget for the equipment and installation.
Mm-hmm.
And that is allocated. That's different funds.
Okay. Because I was just,
Wayne, to your point, there was some extra money that we found, some from the previous year that wasn't spent. I think it was 40,000, and then there might have been another 60 or 70 that we used to buy a couple of other items. And of course, I can't remember what they are at the moment, but I think we cleaned out on the capital side or whatever extra stuff we had for whatever the most glaring issues were.
Okay. So we will be able to do what is on there for the September 20th or so.
Yeah, the SCADA thing, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's all.
You're welcome.
Okay, next.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, see you guys.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Yeah, have a great day.
So next on the agenda, well, it was prior to that, but preparation for the meeting with the select board.
Right.
Want to talk about that, or do we want to talk about CJC first?
Well, I think if we're going to meet next week or 2 weeks before the select board meeting, I think we could do it then. And the only thing I was thinking, John, were you gonna put something together, like a paper or something, as a sort of brief of what was happening?
He did.
You
He
did?
did.
I haven't seen. Okay, I haven't seen it.
He did an excellent job.
I sent it to you, Bill.
When?
I sent it when John sent it to me last week, and I just resent it.
It was Thursday, I think, the initial transmission. And I asked Lisa this morning if she had, and she said just now she resent it.
All right, I'll dig it out.
Yeah,
And I just resent it this morning, too.
Okay. Well,
I'd like to add my name to that too, because I thought it was very, very well done and represented the honesty of exactly what's happened. And I think that it's important for the select people to understand that.
Well, Wayne, I appreciate your comments. I think just for our next discussion, I think it's important that we get the fundamental facts out on the table. And if we can reach agreement on something like that, to send it to all the principals who might be interested. So be thinking about it in that context, that it's something we could send everybody, so everybody's at least understanding where we're coming from and why, and how important it is to, number one, take all of this seriously, which we do and have from day one, and why we have reached certain conclusions. So take a good hard look at it. I have no pride of authorship. I'm just trying to put it all down in one place in fairly short order to cover, 900 pages of stuff that Woodard and Curran put out, and to do it in 3 pages instead. So
Okay,
onward and upward.
very good. Well, thank you.
Dan, did you get a copy of that or no? I know it was probably through us.
I'm not sure if I saw the final version, but Lisa, why don't you just send it to me?
Sure. So I'm having a little bit of a technical difficulty this morning working from home. I can't get on the server at work. So it'll come later.
Yeah, no problem.
Actually, I can send it to you from my iPhone. I'll do that now.
Well, now that we've talked about it, I can send a copy to everyone also. So at least you're off the hook on that one. I didn't want to violate open meeting provisions, so that's why I sent it to Lisa in the first place. CJC?
So we have Ron, who I will, so Ron, you're able to talk now.
Oh, this is Ron Ruth. I'm a lawyer with Sharon and Lodgen in Boston, and here just to listen. I'm on. My client is Stop and Shop Supermarket, not the which is a tenant at the shopping center, not the owner of the shopping center. And frankly, just trying to understand what the current status is and understand the facts with regard to the CJC project, not taking a position at all at this point.
Ron, has Mr. Stasko given you any information as to what's going on or where we are at this point?
Oh, there's been a lot of information from the landlord, and we're just trying to make sure we understand the facts, and the situation. But yes, there's plenty of communication with the landlord.
Okay. As far as this board's position, and I'll let Wayne and John add in on it, is we've sent our agreement to the landlord, and I guess it's on his desk awaiting signature, and the ball's in his court. So.
And why don't you mention what that does, Bill?
Well,
the agreement, basically.
Yeah. So basically, that agreement will energize a line going down 3A to Tapello Road, which will then connect into the 3 properties that are on Chief Justice Cushing Highway that the landlord owns.
And may I ask a question? I don't
Sure.
want to
Yeah.
be in the middle of your discussions, but one of the I had a conversation last week with Lisa and asked her this question, and she suggested maybe I attend this meeting, which was very helpful, and I appreciate your time last week, Lisa, and this suggestion. But the question is, as I understand it, there's a MassWorks grant being applied for by the town, or may be applied for, to support the construction. And what we were trying to do was, Stop and Shop's trying to do, is to understand the financial arrangements that, at least as I understand it, if the MassWorks grant is not granted by the Commonwealth, then the project doesn't proceed. And if the MassWorks grant is granted, would the town then nonetheless still have betterment assessments, or looking, it may be this agreement addresses this, but would there be assessments or some other financial arrangement looked to from landowners served by the new line?
So, Bill, if you don't mind, this is Brian. I'd like to just hopefully clarify a little bit. So just to get down to the nitty gritty, either the sewage on site that needs to be treated either on site, or option B was taken to our collection and our treatment plant. What Bill had mentioned before is Stasco, there were discussions of him running a line down Route 3A corridor, and the Sewer Commission had many deliberations and basically gave him requirements to meet to do that such thing. Secondarily, that we have the town is submitting a MassWorks grant to do improvements on the 3A corridor between Pond Street and Sawyer Street, which includes sidewalks, a new sewer line, a new water line, and new signalization, traffic lights at Sawyer Street. That's what's being contemplated now. We've contracted with Western Sampson to submit the grant on behalf of the town. It is being discussed tonight at the selectmen meeting. I think it's around 9:30 on the agenda. But if the selectmen, I suppose, vote to proceed with the grant application, then that will be submitted by the deadline, which is August 28th. So it's a really tight deadline. So that does include sewer provisions, but it's kind of separate and independent of what the proposal by the property owner was doing, to the Sewer Commission. If the grant is awarded, then the sewer gets paid for with the grant money. If the grant is not awarded, then the onus is, as it normally is, on the owner and developer to figure out how to sewer the property. I don't know if that, hopefully that clarifies some things.
It's very helpful. Thank you. A lot of the subtleties of what you just explained I did not have, so I appreciate it.
The other portion of that cost is there is a fee to connect onto the sewer pipe. So if it's installed, probably half of the total value of whatever the total cost is, will be picked up by the state. But secondly, there's an application fee that is significant, that is that allows us to do the things that we need at the plant and everything else. And you heard earlier about repairs and maintenance and things that happen. So that's also in the agreement that Bill talked about.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ron?
No, but thank you very much, and I appreciate your forthcoming spirit.
Okay. Should we go on to the abatement, Lisa?
Sure. So, let's see. So I have Paul Berg. Paul, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, so you are requesting abatement for your property at 60 South Main Street?
Correct.
And what was the reason for the abatement?
Well, there's been a problem. If we go back to 2018, the rate, the quarterly payments or quarterly billings used to be about, usage was like 8,500, 9,000 cubic feet. And then in 2019, about July of 2019, it jumped to 15 to 16,000. So we started going around looking into the property for issues or problems. Brenda over at the water department would let me know that, it appeared to be water usage at 24/7. So we went around, of course, we found a couple of apartments where people don't check the toilets. It's, it's like my son will leave the bathroom running for an hour if you let him. But anyway, so we went around, we found and we fixed some toilets and a leaking shower kind of stuff and all those things. And then, of course, after a while, Brenda would get back to me saying that there was still a problem. So we went back out with Todd Ameling, the plumber, and we went through the entire building looking at all the possible spots for the leak. No apparent visual issue of a leak showing up, in the walls or anything. We listened, we couldn't find it. Come to find out, most recently, it jumped considerably. And for instance, in 2018, I think our usage was 33,600 cubic feet. 2019, it went to 50,700. And so far in 2020, it's 60,400. And we had to go, it's on a slab, of course. So we had to go down under the crawl space to figure out if there was a problem down there. And we did find that there was a pipe that feeds the boiler that apparently, due to the water quality and so on, and the time that's taken, had eaten away at the pipe. And there was a leak that was basically just dumping the water back into the sand under the slab. So given that wasn't, granted it's after the meter, we paid the bill, but I was just seeking abatement to sort of offset the cost of that bill over the ongoing bills.
Paul, what is the building? Is it the red building with the apartments, or what is it?
Yeah, it's French Memories Bakery up to Dependable Cleaners.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking.
So has the leak's now been fixed, or the plumbing has been changed?
Well, yes. What was happened is we've isolated it. We've shut down that line, and
Right.
Sean Harris is scheduled to go in and fix it. It's a 3-inch line, so I'm trying to determine if we need a 3-inch line since we have a new boiler, which is more efficient. I'm hoping we don't need a 3-inch line.
Do you have any in the apartments and stuff? Is there any sprinkler system or partial sprinkler system in the building?
We're fully sprinkled.
You're fully sprinkled. So
Yeah.
so is this? Do you have 2 lines going in? One for the sprinkler
Correct.
and one for domestic?
Yeah, one for domestic, one for the sprinkler system.
Okay. All right. And so you haven't. Do you have any readings now from Brenda since you shut the line off?
Yes, according to Todd Ameling, when they isolated this 3-inch line and shut it down, the meter stopped. Now, there's been no change in occupancy. The same tenants are still there that were there in 2018. So there shouldn't be really much change in use, in volume. But we did do that, and I did talk to Brenda, and she did send over a crew, and they did determine that that's correct, that the meter has stopped, and there was nothing, quote unquote, leaking.
So how are you using any water at all then?
But we only shut down the feed to the boiler itself.
So that was on a separate meter?
No. It's in the same meter. It's after the meter, but it just branches off from the main
Right.
and
So
goes
you
over
cut
to.
that off, but there's still water going to the tenants of the building, correct?
Correct.
What is that quantity compared to before?
Well, I don't have. You mean the difference between the 3-inch pipe and what's going up to the tenants?
Yeah, that would be the abatement. That's what we'd be basing the abatement on.
Well, that I don't know what that difference is. All I know is that as I said, in 2018, the usage for the entire year was 33,000 cubic feet.
Yeah.
So in this pipe, unfortunately, lays right on the sand under the building. So it wasn't a matter of being able to hear it or see it or it causing a leak or a stain somewhere. But in 2019, without a change of occupancy or any difference, it went up to 50, by 50% or by 20,000 gallons or cubic feet rather. And then in 2020, so far, and it's only August, it was 60,000. But ideally, all 3 of those years should have been about the 33,000 if you want to just ramp it up and say 40,000 square feet. I mean, cubic feet. But so I was just seeking abatement of, to offset that number that wasn't, into the sewer system. It was basically into the ground, unfortunately.
Right.
Have
Well,
you filed a formal abatement with Lisa?
Yes, sir.
so Lisa, does the abatement form have the existing flows today, or just the fact that it's 33,000, 50,000, 60,000?
I'll have to check on that because I don't have it in front of me. I don't
I
recall.
know, I'm sorry. I know Brenda from the water department sent over a breakdown of usage over the past few years.
Yes, I do have that in front of me. I don't have the abatement form.
Now,
I believe I emailed it to you, Paul, the abatement form. Or you got
Yeah,
it?
that's the one I filled out and brought over, and you and I met.
Oh, yes, I do have it. I don't have it with me.
Hey, let me apologize for a second. I'm just hearing a lot of numbers and somehow the audio gets distorted and I don't really understand what I'm hearing. Normally we have in front of us an abatement form that has all the backup data that we take a careful look at and make a decision.
Mhm.
I need to have hard copy of what Mr. Berg has
Okay.
and then I'll be prepared to act on it. So Lisa, if you could send a hard copy to everyone, that would be
Yes.
helpful, and we can get on with our duties.
Yep.
And we do have a policy of not going back to the beginning of time when you had every opportunity to really find this over the
Oh, I
course
understand.
of years.
I mean, that's why I was seeking an abatement, but understanding that it's not a matter, and I'm not trying to go back to when we first noticed, an extra drop of water going. But because of where this pipe was and because it was sort of water just going right back into the ground. But the use or the occupancy being the same, exactly the same. And of course, this year, because of the issue, and I don't know if French memories use nearly what they used to use. So I was seeking an abatement of since last July to August. And I thought a fair amount would be about like 40,000 cubic feet. Because of the total for the past 3 years, it would be 111,000. And when in 2018, that was an average of about 33,600 cubic feet per year. So I just ramped it up to 40,000 a year. And
I
still
have one other question, which is
Sure.
the meter obviously is located closest to the street, and
Correct.
they cut off a valve that was apparently underneath the building, so it must have been reasonably close to the meter. So I would imagine that they're looking at the meter readings, the plumber, and making a decision that the water is flowing at a significant rate because he's looking at the dial turning.
Correct.
So I can't understand why it took 2 years or 3 years to find the leak under the building from a valve that should have been exercised to shut off valves, like the first time around.
Well, the problem was that every time, if Brenda would contact me and say, "Hey, Paul, you've got a leak." So I say, "All right," we'd get somebody to go through the building. Usually Todd Ameling, the plumber, we'd go through and we would find something. I mean, it's so typical of retail or of residential leasing that some tenant, "Oh yeah, I have a leak in my bathroom. It didn't really bother me, so I didn't bother with it." They don't tell you. So you go ahead and fix that. And the plumber, the last time we had a bathroom, it was a toilet that was overflowing. And he says it was like having a faucet half on constantly. And that's how bad it was leaking. And even that, this is after sending letters and asking them to put in, giving them little tablets to put in their tank so they could see if it was leaking. And so you just don't get the attention that's probably necessary. And so I really the problem became noticeable like last year when it jumped up to the 15,000 a quarter instead of the 8 or 9,000.
So Paul,
So-
could I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why didn't you come to us then?
To be honest, every time we fixed it, we thought we had the problem resolved. We thought it was done. Brenda was like, okay, you know, we'll send somebody back over. And of course, it would take a little time to get somebody back over to take a look at the meter. Now in I think it was November, they put in a meter where they could adjust it or test it from outside the building. So it made it easier to get to. Because unfortunately, the meter in this building is below the slab in Darylyn's shop there. There's a little gift shop that Darylyn has in the right corner of that store. There's a trap door that when you open it, you go down and that's where the meter is. So they put in an extension to bring it outside so that they could read it more frequently without having to disrupt her business. So every time we found it, and just most recently, we found this toilet to be so bad, and Todd Ameling, the plumber, said to me, that's gotta be it. That had to be the problem. So I asked Brenda to send over a crew again, so she did, and she said, I hate to tell you, but it's still running. I was like, geez. So we went ahead and found, got under the slab, and just went after every pipe down there. And we did find the one that goes to the boiler, but we had to isolate that pipe and then be able to shut it off. So I know it's crazy, but every time you think you find the problem, I said, okay. So they take it on the chin for a little bit, the guys who own the building, and it's you know, it is what it is. You know, it's a mistake. Tenants don't let you know. But then as it started getting more, and when it finally something happened, and this last one came in with a $7,200 you know, water bill, I said, oh my God. So I just asked Brenda, you know, if anything could be done, and she in turn explained to me how, not for the water usage or the spent water, but for the, you know, the sewage, there might be an abatement available on that level. So I decided to apply anyway.
Have you applied for a water abatement at all?
Not for a water abatement, no, just a sewer abatement. I figured that after the meter, you know, it is what it is. And, but since a lot of this was going back into the ground, I did not file for a water, you know, a usage abatement.
Yeah, but everything up to this, like you talked about the toilet that's running half full, that flow is going to the sewer. And we can't really abate that because it came in as part of our operation to,
right.
It has to be cleaned and all the rest of it. So it's only the water that really was going to the boiler that probably can go into the sewer.
No, that's why I understand that. That's why I'm saying that if in a given year, like 18, the 33,600 was used all year long. So, and I understand that the tenants are still using water, and the French memories are still using water. So that, but if in 18 it was 33,000, and last year it was 50,700, and then there's 60,400. Now some of that, and that's why I only asked for 40,000. I mean, that would have been a total of 111,100 cubic feet. So, you know, that's far more than the 33,600, you know, per year that it used to be when everything was hunky-dory, if you will.
Right.
So, that's why I was only seeking the 40,000.
But we don't have any idea when the line to the boiler ended up sort of bursting or whatever it did, because you had situations where you had a toilet that was running at a faucet that was half open for months maybe. So anyway, I
understand. That's why I didn't seek, you know, reimbursement for every drop that went in. I was trying to be conscientious of the fact that yes, that's a moment of stupidity that we can't get back. That, you know, somebody leaves their toilet run for a while, or a shower dripping, or, you know, whatever the problems may be.
Well, I guess the good thing now is that the water department has a remote reader that they can actually give you a printout of the consumption.
Correct.
Over a 24-hour period or a 30-day period or whatever, and that's going to help you a lot in the future.
That's true.
Once you know what your new base is, which you don't have because they just put the new meter in and you don't have enough time yet to measure it. So, you know, you're gonna have to look 30 days from now or something and then say, okay, this is what I think the new norm is, and then go from
Well,
there.
that's why I try to go back to the old norm, if you will, of 2018, which appeared to be about, and it was the same, you know, in previous years, about 30,000 or 33,000, right in that time frame. So I even ramped it up to 40, saying, okay, if there was a couple leaks here and there, and that, you know, we'll use it at a number of 40,000 a year. But when it just got to be this year, especially when it must have actually separated or broken or really what happened, and it jumped up considerably. That's why I was coming after, or seeking an abatement on that grounds.
So I think if I can echo John on this, if we can get a formalized abatement form from yourself with all the, you know, required backup information, we can take it up at our next meeting.
Sure. Good enough. I will get it to you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Yep, take care.
We done?
Yeah, but basically, I guess I was going to make a quick comment on how coincidental it would be for the attorney for Stop and Shop to all of a sudden be interested in what we're doing with Chief Justice Cushing Highway.
Well, if I were a client, I would be interested in what my landlord was up to.
Well, I'd be if I was a landlord there, I think I'd be on the phone all day long then. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, the application for a grant to, among other things, build a sewer pipe, I'm sure the the owner is interested in having a grant pay for it, but that's up to him. I mean, we've done our homework.
Yeah.
We've got our agreement in front of him. Who pays for the pipe has been kind of taken out of our hands by this potential grant application. I guess we'll find out tonight whether or not it's going to go forward, but that's up to the Board of Selectmen at the suggestion of the town manager, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait and see, and I guess the owner will too, but we're kind of sitting and waiting.
Yeah, I don't see how they, you know, if they even approve it, I don't see how they're going to get everything done by the end of the year so he can hook up.
That's his problem, not ours.
No, I know. I understand.
Yeah. So,
All righty. Does anyone have anything else they want to chat on?
Just had a question on the grinder pump. What's going on with that, the grinder pump fees? Other than the research that we're doing, Dan. I've checked some of the files, I've made some notes, but nothing really.
Yeah, well, I haven't heard from you, so why don't you send me what you have?
Okay.
We'll take it from there. And then what I'll do is I'll put together specific questions for you that maybe I research on. We did, or Lisa was able to find a couple of documents in there regarding Black Horse Lane, which basically indicated that the commission did reimburse the homeowners for grinder pumps out there, making them town-owned grinders. So we will have a couple of more names on Black Horse to add to our list of town-owned grinders. And it would appear that maybe one property possibly had not been upgraded yet.
so did I hear you say that we reimbursed homeowners on Black Horse Lane for their grinder pumps?
That's correct. That's what it appears to be.
Is Black Horse the one that's off,
Summer,
huh?
off of Summer.
Do you recall why we did that?
I think what it was is we had put in an extension in, and there was no documentation of septic problems up there. But then the owners got together and decided that they'd rather have a sewer connection than maintain their on-site systems. All those were fairly large lots, and I don't think there was any issues with the septics, but they did want to connect in. And because it was so close to the period of time of us extending the sewer and activating the system. The commission at that point in time agreed to allow the extension to occur. It was right after the central expansion. And they didn't reimburse the homeowners for the service connections or the pipe in the street, but did give them, I guess, as a partial compensation for the betterment, grinder pumps. At least
What
that's
year was that?
from the agreements in the folder.
What year was that?
I believe it was 2001.
Before all our times, I guess.
Now, at what point did we have a 50-50 cost that went away? Remember, I actually, because of the town meeting situation with Little Harbor, in the past, the betterment would be half of what it costs to put it in, right? Originally. So in other words,
Yeah, I mean, it started with North Cohasset. That was a 50-50.
Yeah.
So were they part of the 50-50 deal?
But that was only for for North Cohasset, I believe.
Yeah.
well, we did grinder pumps on Border Street that are owned by the town.
There were grinder pumps in the system, and those were allocated as part of the betterments. Let me just see if I can call up the betterment sheet.
Right. I remember we had one person come to the board that lives in, right on Border Street there, and they want the town to continue taking care of the pump that the town supposedly put in and owned. So.
Well, we'll see.
I think it was one of the McCormick boys. Now, bring this back to today in terms of time, and there were 3 lots down there that are getting sewer now, 2 new ones and one that had it already. And they have extended the main another 60 feet to do that at their expense. Everything's been at their expense, and they will pay for the grinder pumps, and they are paid for the right to connect onto it.
Where is this?
This is the end of the same street, heading towards the last house. See, the last house had sewer. There were 2 lots that are on the right-hand side before the last house that didn't have sewer, and they had to extend the main to, I guess, increase the size of it, and then had 3 connections off of it now.
You're talking Black Horse, right?
Black Horse Lane.
Yeah, so on Black Horse, and basically all of Central was a 50-50 as well. It's just we had a lot more people to share it with. So, I mean, Central went through as a 50-50. I have on the betterment list all of Black Horse, including those extra homes at the end.
Yeah.
But it was only a collection betterment. And this is the betterment list that was assembled was prior to, I think, the actual granting of the extra grinder pumps. What I don't have, and something that I'll have Lisa take a look at, is to check with the assessor's office to see if the betterment was increased when the pump was given to them.
Oh.
It's kind of, all we have is a proposed agreement, and there doesn't seem to be any documentation of actual transfer of the pumps. At that point in time, Diane was probably doing it, or potentially Tara, I'm not sure. But I mean, that was a period of time where we had still solicited or had an agreement for providing pumps. And those were, at that point in time, those were interim pumps.
Okay.
So,
Did we do anything with that pump with the Rosano Davis contract? Did we replace it, or is it the same one?
several of them were replaced, and they were on Rosano Davis's list, but not on our list.
Oh,
And that's what brought my attention to it. And it appears there's maybe one more property out there that still has an old Interon that needs to be upgraded. But I'm trying to determine if that pump that was given to those property owners was ever really allocated as part of an additional betterment. And I don't have it on my final betterment list that was done at the end of the Central project. There may have been some additional betterment assigned with the assessors when that other agreement was. But again, I'm not 100% that the town actually gave them grinder pumps, but all indications are that they were given pumps.
Okay.
There's an agreement in place, but I see there's no physical transfer that Lisa confirmed.
Okay. Now, on the two new lots that apparently one probably under construction now, do we know how that's been handled? Lisa, do you know if those were paid for? This was the correspondence with Livingston, Jack Livingston. He was
Is that 80 and 90? 80 and 90 Black Horse?
probably
No, that's Avila. That's Arthur Avila, I think.
no. No, this is the
Avalon?
yeah. No, this is nothing with Avalon. This is
No, Arthur Avila?
Avila, the
Avila.
builder. Okay, the builder. Okay, he's building the two houses or one of them or what?
There's 80 and 90 Black Horse.
Yep.
If this is a new connection, my position would be it's a new connection and has nothing to do with town-owned grinder pumps.
Right. I'm just bringing this up only because we're doing that. Dan has mapped out. He's included those two lots, so I want to make sure that everybody understands that they are paying the $37,000 each
Yeah.
for that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
And,
okay.
and so I just didn't want that to get lost, as well as paying for the installation, and they also paid for the installation in the street.
You're way ahead of me, Wayne.
80 and 90 never received any type of betterment whatsoever.
No.
And I think they came before us, didn't they? Like maybe a year and a half ago or two.
When Dan's talking about a betterment, it's sort of different than no betterment and they're paying the connection fee, right? Because you're not counting the $37,000 as a betterment fee, are you?
No.
Should be, because that would require us to, reduce betterments by people or whatever that paid it already.
No, I'm just talking about the original betterments assigned based upon the construction of the municipal project.
And I don't remember when those lots were created, whether they were created when Livingston purchased the property or whether they were done already. I almost think they were done already. And by the way, Lisa, look out for, there is the potential that they're going to make another lot and separate, I heard a couple of days ago, the barn that's on the property from the original house. So make the barn a lot. So we would just want to look for that.
On Black Horse?
Yeah. This is real, not verified information, but something that has come up in the last 2 weeks, as far as me hearing it.
Good to have spies.
These are multi-million-dollar lots, so Now, speaking with that and with Dan on the thing is, I want to be sure that when buildings get torn down and they have sewer connections, that something is done to cap those lines and make sure that someone didn't rip out a backflow preventer that ends up sending sewage into the foundation or whatever. And it should be inspected when they go to reconnect it onto the new house. It's almost like, we should have some sort of a permit that just allows us to have a reconnection fee or a demolition fee or something to make sure that's done up right. And that it's going to one building instead of 2 or 3 buildings or something else.
Well, I mean, based upon last meeting, I think you kind of decided that Lisa should be looking at every single building permit.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that should hopefully catch it because you got to pull one to do a demo too.
Right, but would they, I was just going to ask, if they were doing a demolition but don't have plans for a building, it's basically a demolition permit, right?
Right, but it still should be capped off, and if it has sewer, capped off.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't disagree. I'm just thinking, I mean, and you're probably talking about the property on Atlantic Ave by the bridge.
Oh, yep.
And whether or not there was actually a structure on the building permit. But Yeah, I think if we look at all that stuff, I mean, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be getting a fee to have somebody go out and inspect and make sure that it was done properly.
Right. Now, for instance, this most likely, if every connection has a valve box and stuff, that should have been shut off at the street, right, Dan? In terms of making sure that nothing happened there.
Right.
When it goes to turn it back on, you want to make sure that it's okay. But
Right.
in that case, there's a separate building, which is the pool house. And I would imagine that would have a sewer connection. So they've kept that building, and I don't know if that building is going to be used as a place where the workers can use the bathroom or whatever, which may still be connected, but I don't know. So, so just a little bit more investigating when these things happen. When someone takes
Property is this?
this
that you're
building.
talking
Yeah.
about? Which property with the pool house?
Yeah, that was my question. I mean, that's,
Yeah, no, it's right. Well, Lisa's asking where it is. I don't know the number, Lisa, but it's the Kennedy property that was recently demolished right at Cunningham Bridge on Atlantic Avenue.
Yeah, it's 181, 191 Atlantic Avenue.
Ah,
two numbers?
181.
Yeah, they had a separate road. You know, the new house. Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
So 181 is the address today, but it had, for some reason, there was a historic 191. At any rate, in some references it's 191, in some references it's 181.
So, Brian, who's in charge of cutting off the gas, and if they have it, and water, which apparently they didn't cut off? I understand they've been spraying a lot of water on the remains.
Right. So they applied for a street permit. National Grid was going to cut the gas at the street. I was a little upset that they went out and they graffitied the entire new pavement surface on the bridge to do work on the side of the road. So National Grid, at any rate, is going to cap it off of the road, not cut into the new surface. Water and sewer were out to do markouts. I don't know if anything was operated as far as valves go, but if there was sewage leaking into the site, we'd probably have a report of it. But I'll talk to Scott to check it out and just make sure it looks good.
Woodard and Curran would be responsible for going out and turning that valve.
Right, but so I don't know if it was Bill or Wayne, but someone was saying, maybe the part of the property is occupied. So I don't think there was any request, and I don't think it's normal that they would go out and do a kind of a shut off type thing unless it was requested specifically by the contractor or the owner. They may be using the barn and flushing toilets to use, but the belt and suspenders is the shut off valve. You do have a check valve. There should be a check valve anyway. To stop any major leakage if it was coming out.
Right.
It's good.
Yeah.
So Lisa, you should just make sure that you do get all the demo permits too. Make sure that doesn't slip through the cracks.
So I do have a meeting with Bob Egan this afternoon actually at 12. And Brian, hopefully Brian will be available still.
Yep.
So, and that's part of the agenda to talk about that.
Good.
Now, we also don't want to forget that the sewer line on the other side of the bridge, before they go ahead and pave the rest of Atlantic Avenue, should be on our agenda to get done. To take it from where the new pavement ends and it has to be extended down to where Schutz's driveway is, or a little bit further to Williams's driveway. And I think, and that's because a new lot was spun off and a connection was made to the main, but they can't use it because the main isn't connected to anything yet. And it's likely that there'll be a new connection to the boathouse on the Williams's side when that's sold. And so, and I'm not sure if that's on sewer now or whether it was just the boathouse type of thing. And that should be checked in. So, that project should we should get that done before the end of the year, I think. So that the trench can settle and they can do the repaving that they want to do.
That sounds good. What do we have to do that, Wayne? Just say we want to do it?
No, I think that this was all gone over with Michelle when the contractor was down there in terms of what they left and how
Right.
they left it, where it's going to go and all that type of thing. And so I think that's something that maybe the Ioria brothers can go ahead and give us a price on. I'm thinking it was about $60,000 at prevailing rates and Dan can log into this too. But it's something that will connect them onto our sewer going by the beach. And I don't know if at the same time we want to do the other side so that in fact we have the valves to be able to take the flow from that part. And if we ever have to go to Hull or go somewhere else, is to connect the other side by the horse trough and make that final connection that was in the plans.
I thought that was our original intent when we put the sleeve in the bridge, wasn't it?
Right.
To have sort of a circular connection.
Right, except that the contractor wanted far more to do it outside of his contract limits.
Right.
It was extravagant. I think it was 130,000 or more.
Should we have Yaria come before us and we can give them some plans and see what they could, if they're
And something out and then request a quote.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Was that in our budget for this year?
I don't
I
think
don't know.
And this may be a case where some of that money I guess it's something we were definitely going to do. So I just don't know if any of that cost of going down the street would be borne by the Schutzes or someone else as a contribution. They're paying the $37,000 for the new connection, and it's just a matter of what's going to happen.
Yep.
Now, Kennedy House. That seems like they would be the last ones connected on that side, Dan. Does that mean that the main is closer to them? Or does it mean that they're in a smaller pipe than what the main is, so we would have...
They were in some small pipes that was extended down. So we would have to go beyond that.
So we could start before it.
Yep.
And then go over the bridge then.
Right. We should also probably include some pressure testing as well, just to make sure. Hate to do all the connections and when we need it, we have leaks, so.
Right. So if you're on the opposite side and you do a test and it loses air, then the other end or somewhere in the middle could be damaged or not closed correctly. Because there should be a valve on both ends now of the new bridge, right?
Yeah, Wayne. So it's so you have a sleeve going across the bridge and a 4-inch pipe inside of it with valves on either side of the bridge, and then that 4-inch pipe extends to basically the limits of the paving if you drive out there.
Right.
But it's not connected to the main on either side. So from Beach Street, where that big flower pot is in the middle of the street, from there down to the Kennedy property and the bridge is a 2-inch. That would need to be, replaced or connected to the 4. And then on the opposite side, from the chute driveway all the way up to, the bend in the street where the driveway is to the boathouse you were talking about, that's also 2-inch. And then it goes up to a 4 at that point. So that would all need to be 4 from that driveway all the way through the bridge and up to Beach Street.
Right.
So I forget the linear footage, but I want to say maybe it might be 400 feet.
Yeah. Okay. And is it your opinion that we should get that done?
Yeah, I was hoping to get it done with the bridge, but like you said, the cost, they only had, double wall insulated pipe, and it was, it was a high cost that we weren't willing to bear. So I think, standard sewer pipe going through there, the pressure class 200 and connect the dots, it'd be a lot cheaper. And yeah, you should do it because it would help out with things like, diversion that we had to do in the past year, whether it's just within our own system. If Bow Street leaked for whatever reason, you could go this way instead of, having to divert to Hull.
Good. Okay.
Anything else does anyone have to talk about? No? No. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Any other listeners at all?
No.
No?
Okay. Second?
All in favor? No.
Aye.
Okay.